going to do one, and then we'll see what happens. Everything's fantasy, right? Yeah. All right. So clockwise, right? Doing it clockwise. I think we're okay here. Okay. How about there? I guess, but we need to work it out of the system here. So you're going to have to come up some. I think you got to kind of get it up high enough where it puts a little tension all the way, you know? That's probably good. Yeah. So now I'll come backing up again. See what. You just stay put. I'll just come up to you. Yeah. Right? I went tight. You don't think I went tight? It looked tight to me. I can. I'm sure we're tight there. Yeah. That's tight. Yeah. Okay. Backing up. Up and back. See what happens. Yeah. Now what do we think? That's ugly now. Boy. I'm going to drive out again.
For those of you just tuning in, we are in the middle of a shift change as well as resolving some ROV tether issues. So we will be back
So what?
to talk about what we're doing in a minute.
You think so? Did I do it? Yeah. Gonna do it. be different. All right. So, huh? All right. I think that's yarded. All right, backing up. Another clockwise? What? No. Let's go back. So we'll end up at a single. All right. So we're gonna go counterclockwise from here now. Yeah. Okay. So back. We're gonna just have the one clockwise net. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Sorry, what? Yeah, I don't know how you can keep track of what was on deck based on down here. I mean, if we get multiple resets, we don't really know where we're at, right? At the what? Sorry, I can't hear through your damn mask. I just. Okay.
Bridge nav. Gonna have a ship move 100 meters north. Thank you. Roger that, coming up. I just stepped the ship north 100 meters.
All right, we have just completed a shift change, and I think the tether issues have been resolved, and we are heading up about a 4-hour ascent up to the surface after a successful dive to the octocone
Come down.
and the whale fall.
Grab this thing.
We're still gonna need some distance from that whale fall before we actually drop it. No worries. No, I think we need to be a bit further. I just started the ship move north. If you feel safe about that, you're not tugging it or anything.
Okay. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Which one am I going for? Okay.
This is Erica Burton from the Monterey
Okay.
Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I am the watch lead scientist on this 4-hour shift from 12 to 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And if
Yep.
it's possible, it'd be great if one of the ROV pilots or the nav can explain what's happening. If
Sure.
not, we'll wait.
Sure, we are just setting up for our recovery. We're off the seafloor. And right now, Jake, our Argus pilot, is wielding the craft arm delicately, and he will be dropping a weight so we can ascend faster.
All right, thanks for that. Sounds like the tether issues are over.
Okay. Now, where's the jaw lock button? Oh, okay.
About how heavy are each of those steel plate bundles?
They're Alvin plates, and each one is, I believe, 26 pounds. So there's 2 on each side. Okay. So this should get us from about 12 meters a minute. Right now we're at 18 meters a minute vertical velocity, and we're hoping to get 20 to 25 meters a minute, which will basically half our ascent time. So at 20 meters a minute, it's probably a 2.5 hour ride to the surface.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
On the way. Oh,
A scientist. This is Taylor Ann, the data logger. So I see we have collected 2 Niskins on this dive, and I was proposing that we collect some more on the way up. I was thinking
Yes.
that depths of 2,000 meters, 1,500, and then the surface, or like near the surface at like 150 meters. How does that sound to you?
Yes, that sounds great. We were going to bring that up because I know that you were interested in getting some water samples for microplastic studies.
Yeah.
So yes, so whenever you want to do that, you just interject and make it happen.
Cool, sounds great.
So why don't we go around the horn? Like I said, this is Erica Burton from the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. I'm a biologist, and I'll be the watch lead this next 4-hour shift. And we have two other science and educators on board. I'm not on board. They're telepresencing. Is that a verb? So,
telepresencing while teleworking.
Yes, exactly. So
it's a lot of telling going
Kirsten
on.
And then Amity.
Hi, everyone. This is Kirsten Lindquist. I work for the Greater Farallones Association and work closely with the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary on their research projects. And I am here as the second scientist for this cruise. Amity, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Amity Wood. I work with Erica at Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, and I'm going to hang out with everybody during this blue water time. It's definitely a good time to ask your questions. The chat feature question box on nautiluslive.org is currently available, and it's not always available. So while we have the staff to be able to monitor some of these questions that are coming in and ask them of our science team, definitely take advantage of that. And if we didn't get to some of the questions over the last 2 hours, because we just had so much going on, I'll be tossing some of those out to the science team and the engineers as well. And then, you know, definitely just let us know where you're watching from today. We've had so many different countries tuning in from just around the world. I know Japan. We've had a ton of people. I think we have a huge following in Norway. So it's pretty exciting to see just people from all over tuning in. A lot of people I know have tuned back into this particular dive because they were experiencing the exploration last year and were surprised as we were about the whale fall, and very excited about that, and wanted to tune back in during this dive to just really see, you know, what had changed over the course of a year with the decomposition of the whale. So we've been getting a lot of comments from viewers about that, how they've done some comparisons, and yeah. So keep the questions coming. Let us know where you are tuning in from.
And if you're looking at the video feed, if you look at the quad view or camera number 3, so 3 or 4, you'll be able to see the ROV pilot, the navigator, and both ROV pilots. And then Taylor Ann is sitting behind them. Taylor Ann, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So I am the data logger on this watch, and I am back here taking note of what we're seeing. Right now, we're not seeing too much other than dropping weight and some blue water, but still just keeping my eyes peeled for anything that we do see here, because everything that we see on the way up is just as important. So yeah, I'm also a graduate student right now at Cal State Northridge. I'm getting my master's degree in marine biology, and I'm out here collecting some samples for my thesis project, so that's pretty cool. I'm studying some microplastics down here in the deep sea, just seeing what's there and what concentrations and what implications they could have on deep sea life.
Thanks. And if the pilots and the navigator and the data logger are available, it'd be great to hear from them as well.
Looks like they're chatting.
This is Stephen Matter in the video chair for 12 to 4 watch.
This is Renato Kane, the navigator on the 12 to 4 watch.
Jake Bonney, I am in the Argus chair.
Dan from the Herc chair, trying to achieve a vertical velocity of at least 20 meters a minute. So we're currently at 21.2 meters a minute. And we are 3,020 meters deep, so someone who didn't fail math can probably figure out what time we'll get to 50 meters, which is not me.
I think there's a contest going.
3.5 hours,
so.
Johnny? 2.5?
Well, I cheat. I have an app for that, so my math teacher said,
it's not cheating.
My math teacher
it's being
said,
resourceful.
"Oh, you won't always have a calculator in my pocket." I wish I could show her my iPhone now.
I just reached for my iPhone calculator.
I just want to give a shout out to our mammal specialist, Jan Valletto, who was on the last shift, for sharing all of that great marine mammal knowledge. And before she gets offline, I see she's about to sign out. Jan has been studying marine mammals for her entire career. And although she's down here studying deep sea life, it was nice to hear her chime in with some mammal knowledge. We had some great folks on the science chat, Mo Flannery and others, who are going to be receiving the specimens that were collected today and from the whale. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's always great when we have specialists on board, because there's always an opportunity to dive a little bit further into that particular species, or just find out some really cool information, fun facts, that kind of stuff. Erica and Kirsten, can you guys talk a little bit about your background? And maybe we can take some questions from the audience that are kind of hitting on your levels of expertise.
Yeah, if I can go first, I'm going to have to get off this audio feed in about 2 minutes to join a phone call between the expedition leader, the cruise leader, and other scientists to plan for the next dive. But real quickly, I am a biologist, and my college level work was mainly focused on fishes, the age and growth of fishes in the deep sea, but also some other work on Atlantic coast species. So looking at grenadier species in the Pacific, but also looking at Atlantic sturgeon and Atlantic tarpon on the East Coast by looking at their ear bones and counting the growth rings that they develop over time, and then validating those ages by looking at naturally occurring radium that occurs in their ear bones to get a true age and the periodicity of those growth rings. So see if we can interpret growth rings using real age of the fish. And so I got a bachelor's degree in marine science and a master's degree in marine science. The latter at Moss Landing Marine Labs, right in the heart of Monterey Bay. But I'll have to pause there and get on the call, but I'll be back in a little bit. And I just want to reiterate that this will be a blue water ascent dive. So hopefully we'll be seeing some midwater critters that we can talk about, especially when we get closer to the surface. There'll be a vertical migration that actually won't be happening during the daytime, but those midwater critters will be at depth. So hopefully, I'm hoping we'll get to see some. So I'll be back in a few.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
Well,
And
Erica
Kirsten,
has just been, yeah, I'm here. Erica's
You're
just
so
been a
great.
wealth of expertise. I have learned a lot from her on this dive. We've been diving in areas that I have not been before, so it's been really fantastic for me to be teamed up with her. I am a bit more of a generalist in the marine environment. I have my undergrad work was studying both seabirds and marine mammals, doing photo identification of fin whales, a lot of breeding work with seabirds on islands, also studying their prey, which includes a lot of identifying and measuring otoliths of fish, the things that they are eating. So very often when you study one thing, say birds, like I have, you end up studying all the things around it, you know, the plants that the birds are associated with, or the sea ice extent if you're studying penguins, or you know, the different prey items that things are working on. So I've studied penguins in the Antarctic and auklets in the Bering Sea, and you're always looking at the prey. So kind of linking me into this world. So it's really fun to see where these things, where these prey species live. So in my current role with the Greater Farallones Association and in partnership with the sanctuary, I do a number of research projects. I manage a citizens or community science project called Beach Watch, which is land-based along the coast, looking at live and beach cast birds and mammals, and also do work on research ships studying birds and marine mammals at sea with the Access Partnership research cruises. And that is a partnership between Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary, Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuary, and Point Blue Conservation Science. So with those cruises, we are looking at the water column. We are looking at krill, schooling fish. We are doing net tows for, you know, looking at krill in particular. We are counting all of the different seabirds and whales on standardized effort transects that I have been doing with Access for more than 15 years at this point. So these kind of teams of people I've been going to see with Jan Roletto for about a month of the year for more than 10 years. So we're really kind of a family. Anyway, that's kind of the long-winded version of my expertise. So really enjoying this time down in the deep.
That's great. I have so many questions about seabirds. This is really fantastic.
Well, they don't dive this deep.
No, definitely not. But the region is known for just the tremendous amount of seabirds, not only in species diversity, but also just abundance. I've heard there's I guess about 250,000 breeding seabirds kind of in this area, particularly around the Point Reyes and Farallon Islands. Can you talk just a little bit about some of those species out there and which ones are breeding versus which ones are just kind of migratory? We have a sense of that?
Sure, yeah. So the Farallon Islands are the largest breeding colony of seabirds on the west coast south of Alaska. So it is a really remarkable suite of islands that host just a tremendous number of species. The top of my head, I think it's 12 breeding seabird species. So those are all of those species, so common murres, Brandt's cormorants, pelagic cormorants, the storm petrels, ashy storm petrels, western gull, on and on. There's a few little oddballs, pigeon guillemot, black oyster catcher, all kinds of things. So almost all of those species are resident to the Greater Farallones waters. Pigeon guillemot being one that is migratory. They do head north in the winter. We do have a lot of migratory species of seabirds that come into the area because this part of the ocean, this west coast of California region, is one of the most rich bodies of water in the world because of our upwelling zone, which is where winds at the surface move water away from the coast and allows deep sea water with lots of nutrients that have settled out. It allows that water to come up to the surface to fill the space of the water that has moved off. And so that brings nutrients up that allows phytoplankton to bloom and then zooplankton to eat that algae bloom, and then seabirds and whales to eat the zooplankton and fish to eat the zooplankton. So it becomes this just incredibly rich area. It's one of the 5 most rich areas in terms of, upwelling zones in the world. So we have seabird species that are coming from, we have pink-footed shearwaters that fly north from Chile to eat in these waters because they are so rich with all the things that we're seeing here. We have sooty shearwaters that fly north from New Zealand along Japan, Alaska, and down across these waters to eat. We have South Polar skua coming from Antarctica, raised on penguin chicks and penguin eggs, and they come up here across the equator. Albatross that breed in the tropical northwestern Hawaiian Islands that fly all the way to California, all the way to Alaska, while they have a chick on their nest to come and eat schooling squid, fish eggs of these species that we see here, and fly all the way back to their chick, like a run to the grocery store. And that grocery store are the waters of Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, of Cordell Bank, of Greater Farallones. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's such, I was like trying to keep track of all the different species that you were naming. That's pretty incredible. And I know you had mentioned, I think alcids, and I just find them to be just incredibly charismatic as well. I know the tufted puffins are kind of in the area as well, but they don't breed here, correct?
Tufted puffins breed on the Farallon Islands.
They do.
And I don't think they breed in the Channel Islands. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure the Farallones is the kind of the farthest south. They're very rare to see in Monterey Bay waters, so I don't think don't think they breed further south. Their kind of epicenter of breeding is farther north: Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska. And then up in that area, you start getting into horned puffins as well.
That's great. You are getting a big shout out from your Beach Watch family who's tuned in. It's like you got some fans out there.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys, for joining.
That is very cool.
Yeah, we have 160 people part of Beach Watch that are just incredible and out there on the beaches surveying and collecting really important data. We're in our 27th year, so a multi-decadal project that is just super valuable. Taylor Ann, did you want to chime in? Do you want to take a water sample?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to give the pilots a little nudge, a reminder about collecting a Niskin at 2,000. I don't know what it takes for them to prepare to fire a Niskin. I'm not sure. Hey, Nav?
Yep.
I'm not sure if pilots are listening, SPL. But I wanted to fire a Niskin at 2,000 meters. I'm not sure. Yeah, 2,000, 1,000, and then 500 and 150. But I just don't know how long it takes for them to get prepped to fire it. Yeah.
I'll let them know. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So we are currently at 2,656 meters and ascending. So we are finishing our 20-hour dive. And we'll have some topside time when a whole team of folks on the boat are going to be processing samples and turning the ROVs over and getting ready for our next dive. A lot of people working long, hard hours, keeping all of this moving so smoothly. This is just an incredible team, the Nautilus.
Yeah, I don't think there's much sleep on the ship, that's for sure. I know this particular, they're trying to do a turnaround pretty quickly on this one to get back down because of the impending weather that's coming, and we're hoping we can get in another dive over the next 24 hours, if not sooner. You know, you got to work with what you're given sometimes, and everybody steps up. I know Chad has been, I don't think he's gotten much sleep the last 24 to 36 hours. I want to say
I don't know
probably about, he's probably sleeping right now, hopefully. But yeah, he's a beast as well. But everybody on the ship is just amazing at doing what needs to get done when we have the opportunity and the weather to make it happen. And this goes a lot of preparation into these dives, but also a lot of flexibility as well. And it's, I know from experience that everyone is just really on top of their game and doing the best jobs possible out there for us. And we really appreciate it here on the internet, being able to experience this as well. Hey, Kirsten, I wanted to ask a little bit more about the Beach Watch program. I know you kind of started to talk about a little bit, and it kind of definitely ties into the work that you do. And you just mentioned, you know, how people can get involved in citizen science through that program. And could you explain what Beach Watch is a little bit more?
Sure. Beach Watch was established in '93 at the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary, and that was building off a previous project that looked at beached birds, so dead birds that have washed up on the beach, that Point Blue Conservation Science started. So when the sanctuary took it over, they added a couple of different data threads. So not only were we looking for dead things on the beach, we were also looking at the live species and looking for any oil deposition on the beach, so tar balls, any oiled birds, and documenting the human activities as well. So we're in our 27th year. We have, we're able to provide information on baseline, what is normal at any point in time in the year. Say an oil spill were to happen, the incident command responding to the spill would contact us basically, and also the natural resource damage assessment team associated with a spill would contact us and say, okay, we need data on what is normal in this month over all the years that you've been looking, and what did you see yesterday on the beaches, so that we know what is most at risk. What is around this time of year? What should we be doing? What should we keep in mind when eventually awarding restoration money? So Beach Watch was in large part established to be able to have the data handy to say, this is what was impacted. We know our resources in these waters, and we know what would have been damaged. So our volunteers are out collecting all of those different kinds of data one time a month. Each team kind of has a survey a month. But we've been going for 27 years. We have a number of volunteers, I think maybe 4 at this point, that have been with us the whole time. So they have been volunteering for the sanctuary for 27 years straight, which is just phenomenal. We have a incredible team of folks that are ready at the drop of a hat if an oil spill or other event happens. We have mortality events with both birds and mammals, and they may be human caused, like some kind of chemical spill, an oil spill, or they may be naturally caused because of prey shortages, usually linked to ocean climate changes like marine heat waves. So, we've had kind of an increasing number of major mortality events that have been relationships are clearly drawn to changes in ocean climate. So this is something that long-term data sets the power they have to speak about what's going on in our ocean just gets stronger and stronger over time as we compile a longer understanding. So all of these folks that participate in Beach Watch, that data can be paired up with breeding seabird data from the Farallon Islands, from Point Blue, or access research cruise data, or sea surface temperature data, all of these different things, or pairing with programs up and down the coast, like the coast program from Northern California to Alaska that looks at beached birds, or beachcombers that starts from Santa Cruz County line and goes to the border of Mexico. We bring all of those data sets together and can speak to much bigger questions. So you can, there are a number of papers that we've published that you can view links to on the Greater Farallones Association and the sanctuary's web pages if you're interested.
Wow, that's great. And I was going to ask because I know that when Erica comes back on, she can talk a little bit more about the Beachcombers program and how they've been actually able to integrate the data into the Senkus data portal and have that be kind of more of a real-time place where folks can go to learn about trends and like you said, they can look at particular species over time. Does the Beach Watch program have something similar to that, or is it kind of when the data is kind of analyzed and published. Is that?
Yeah, we have the exact same capabilities. Our data is, as it gets QA/QC'd and approved at any point in time, the data goes directly into the Senkus mapping tool, and you can play with our data. We have both dead birds and mammals and also live birds and mammals in that mapping tool, and you can play with the time series and turn on, harmful algal bloom data, sea surface temperature data, all of these different things. And it is a phenomenal tool that that is available. Yeah, so the Beachcombers data and Beachwatch data are both in there.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. And Kirsten mentioned Senkus, which is actually it's another acronym out there, but the website is Senkus, so CENCOOS.org. So senkus.org. It stands for the Central and Northern California Ocean Observation System. So yeah, really great website, great portal for viewing data. And as you mentioned, after it gets QA/QC, which is another acronym, which is the quality control, quality assurance, making sure that the data is good and the data is verified. And then I'm not sure what the turnaround time is for the portal, but it sounds like it's pretty quick. So we can, kind of see some of those patterns that you've mentioned in real time, a little bit more in real time, which is really great information for prediction models, and really helps us to get a bigger picture of what's going on during that time.
And there are different ooses,
yes.
There are different ooses. So if you're not in Central California, but say you're in Alaska or other places, you should check it out. There are other ooses, and there is data. Maybe not all of them have biological data. That is a newer thing that they have been trying to bring in, but they've been working pretty hard at that. So there may very well be biological data for all of them.
Yeah, that's great. And I know the Senku site, I haven't really had a chance to fully explore it recently, but I know that there's different locations that you can look in and different focus areas as well if you want to know a little bit more about upwelling or ocean acidification. There's different tools that you can use to search for different data sets that you're interested in.
A lot of great data layering, visualization tools on there. So it's pretty awesome.
Well, that's great. Yeah, when Erica comes back on, I know in Monterey we run a similar volunteer program, or have run a similar volunteer program for the last 20 years, and I believe the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has taken the program on and are managing the program and the data, and it's very similar to the Beachwatch program. I know that the Beachcombers data also gets, as I said, put into this data portal system, which is just great for the public to be able to access information and kind of play around with the visuals too, because I think one of the things that's really interesting about this portal is just the visualization tools that the data provide and can help tell a, like I said, a bigger story, a big picture view. So it's kind of nice. That's great. Now you mentioned, I think I heard you say that you had done some work on fin whales as well. Is that correct?
As an undergrad,
I participated
in a in a study in the Gulf of California in the Midriff Island area. I attended Prescott College, and there's a study going on there because, you know, the great whales are known to be migratory, going between warmer waters in the winter and Arctic waters in the summer to feed. But researchers found that in the Gulf of California, there seemed to be a year-round presence of fin whales. And that was very unique. That does not happen everywhere. And that's a deep trench system down kind of the center of the Gulf of California that's formed by the San Andreas Fault. And it appeared that those trenches were providing enough food. And I have not kept up on these studies, but I did participate to some degree when I was an undergrad, and it was an amazing opportunity for me at an early point, you know, kind of even before my career. So it was a great opportunity. And taught me that I love boats.
So yeah. Yeah, it's good. You don't get seasick too much, do you?
Well, there are ways to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, especially when there are whales or seabirds, you tend to forget that there's a lot of motion going on and get excited. Yeah, about everything.
Yeah,
I know,
on the big boats, most people do very well. On the smaller boats, they can be a little bit fussier, especially, you know, in the waters off San Francisco. We can really take some serious weather. And so often on the first day or so of you know, 10-day cruise, I may struggle a little bit, but I know how to kind of power through, and focusing on my job is really helpful.
Yeah, and I know some of the like these species that we're kind of talking about now are more kind of offshore areas as well. So even though they can come in close to shore, these larger whales, like the fin whales and blue whales, typically, you know, stay a little bit more off the shoreline. I think it does depend on the continental shelf as well. So how far out that continental shelf extends. And around the Farallones, I know that they're just off the islands because that's kind of where the continental shelf starts to drop off pretty quickly. So there are a lot of large whales, I want to say just west of the Farallon Islands. I know I've been out there a couple of times, and the weather's always rough to get out there, but when you get out there, my gosh, it's just amazing how many of these large whales are feeding out there, just right on the edge of the continental shelf. And then, you know, as I was talking with Chad earlier, is that, you know, the seamounts are also a highly productive area for the whales to feed. And even though the seamounts don't reach the surface of the water, they do provide kind of a you know, a little bit of an upwelling effect with the nutrients coming from the deep water up to the surface, and of course that fuels the food web, and just high concentrations of krill will attract, of course, the seabirds and these large whales as well. So pretty amazing. Just I've been out to that area just to do some surface surveys. I know you have, Kirsten, as well with access crews, and we did some access crews out there on the Shimada, which is a NOAA research vessel, and yeah, just concentration of fin whales out there is incredible, just really amazing.
Yeah, up in around the Farallones, fin whales haven't been very abundant. The primary species that we see are humpbacks and blue whales. Down closer to Davidson Seamount, fin whales are much more abundant. But we have been seeing a higher number of fin whales up in the Farallones area in the last few years, which is pretty interesting. And that ideally, or the past normal, the great whales were feeding along the continental shelf. So, as Amity said, just west of the Farallones. But we have certainly had plenty of times in the last years where whales follow the food, and that food has been on the shelf and closer to shore and more kind of overlapping on top of the shipping lanes going into San Francisco. And so that's a bit tricky when you've got big ships transiting through areas where large densities of whales are feeding, and it's something that the sanctuaries work hard to communicate with the boats and with the shipping industries, and trying to work with them to slow down when going through those areas. We can't control where the whales are, but we can help inform. With access data around San Francisco, we've helped inform changes in the shipping lanes and inform notifications to mariners. But ship strikes do happen at times, and that's something that Mo Flannery, who was on this morning, on Science Chat this morning,